All right, show is yours.
Good.
So you're Zachary,
Yes, I am.
girlfriend
And then this is Tana.
Tana. Okay.
Yep, she's been living here since before we got pepperoni. So,
Okay, so kind of fill me in on what's going on here.
oh, long story short, we got him from a store that had promised that they used good breeding practices. And when we took him home and filed the AKC registration paperwork and did some research and found out that he came from one of the worst mills in the U.S.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
we've been fighting that a lot, and he's had aggressive tendencies his whole life. We've just mitigated it by just trying to keep the triggers away from him. At about 8 months, 9 months, it started to get worse. Once his adult teeth grew in, and his attacks weren't being as they weren't as they were less annoying and more vicious, I guess you could say. And now they're basically just all vicious. In the past 3 weeks, he has attacked me 4 times, multiple puncture wounds, like 5+ bites at a time. He's gotten Tana twice.
Can you give me some details on that?
Yeah, yeah. It's from what I can tell, it appears to be food related, either food related or spontaneous. Sometimes it seems like it's food related. Other times, because I can go down to his bowl while he's eating. I can put my hand down by him. I can add a treat to his bowl or more food to his bowl, and he doesn't pay any mind to that. Um, but if I don't have something in his bowl for him prior to setting the bowl down, he will sit and stare at me until I give him something that entices him to eat.
Okay.
And we had originally thought that that was the Prozac that was causing that to happen, because that's when it started kind of coming up, is when he started taking the Prozac. So we changed it to Lexapro, and it was just basically all downhill from there.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Carry on. Give me as many details as
Uh,
you can. So it's just mainly food related.
Mainly, there has been a couple instances where he's had a high value toy. That's generally why we try to keep things like that out of the house.
Okay.
Flavored bones, things like bigger chew toys. We generally don't have them in the house very often. We have tried a couple times, and it's hit and miss whether or not he's gonna guard them or attack one of us. He's been doing this thing today that I've noticed, where uh, he's fine, but he'll eye me around the house. He'll stay in one spot, and he'll just watch what I'm doing, and I can kind of tell that that's sort of a preemptive to him lunging at me. So I've tried to keep my distance, let him do his thing today. Um, but yeah, it's been, oh god, pretty much since the beginning, right? It's yeah, his bites have just gotten worse. He bit my brother, who was babysitting him. He was trying to feed him. That was one of those vicious puncture attacks. That was probably 6, 7, 8 months old. He had a sitter. My girlfriend's, or excuse me, my brother's girlfriend. She watched him because at the time we were both working first shift, and she has been bitten a bunch by him too. Um, the medication, everything that we've tried, hasn't worked. I read today that the Keppra causes what some people like to call Kep rage. So I followed your suggestion. We took them off everything except the Prozac, which yeah,
Yeah. The
I'm gonna
problem
try
is
and
Kepper combined with Prozac can actually cause some behavioral issues too, and can have,
okay, okay.
okay.
Yeah, we were unaware of this. We went out and we at about a year. Once he turned about a year, we got a behaviorist. Our vet was the one that prescribed us the Prozac, but once it wasn't really making too much of a difference, she referred us to a behaviorist, and the behaviorist prescribed the Keppra and gabapentin, and those two, the gabapentin and the Keppra, he's not on anymore.
Yeah, and gabapentin is just nerve pain. So
Yeah.
But
That's. I thought
it's
it was kind of strange too that the Keppra was an anti-seizure medicine.
yeah.
But she had described it as an anti-kindling.
I get why they give it, but it really does nothing
Yeah.
for cortisol. Um, so essentially, what we're looking at is if you can get them off Prozac as well, that would be wonderful. Like for me,
Okay.
and Prozac has to be weaned off. Like GABA has to be weaned off as well. To be honest with you,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's not something you want to stop cold turkey because it causes some, it's kind of like basically a loopy dog. But for
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
I refuse to work with a animal like a dog on Prozac. I'll go up and meet the dog,
Okay.
but they literally got to be weaned off before I even work with them because I don't know if it's behavior or Prozac because Prozac is some pretty heavy stuff,
Okay.
and I've seen it cause some weird behavioral issues as well and like fast breathing and whatnot.
Sure. Sure.
So, um, and the other thing I want to talk to you about as well, have you whereabouts are you located, like roughly in this?
Spring Lake, Michigan, West Michigan on the coast.
Okay,
So,
is cannabis legal around there? Do you know?
yes,
Okay.
yes, it's statewide.
Okay, the one thing I would recommend, and we can talk about it later on, is cannabis oil, like CBD particularly,
Okay.
because a
Yeah.
lot of
Yep.
the problem with behaviors, like when you're dealing with aggression and reactivity, like it's all part of fight and flight, and the chemical that controls fight and flight is cortisol, which is
Yep.
produced by our adrenal glands.
Yep.
Now, is he neutered?
He is. Yes.
When was it done? Do you know?
7 months, I believe.
Okay, so one of the other possibilities with neuter, and since this is going to be public, I want to explain it to people.
Okay.
Vets do not give any kind of consent when it comes to spay and neuter. There's no informed consent at all. So
Okay.
the first thing it does is impacts the thyroid, okay, which is a very important organ in the throat, okay, and it
Yep.
actually decreases it. So it puts the dog into a hypothyroid state. Now some dogs stay there, some dogs come back out, and it can actually get worse and worse. Now the one big thing with hypothyroidism, as a side effect of spay and neuter, for example, what you're looking at is a lot of dogs end up with unexplained allergies. Is there any of that going
Okay.
on?
He does sneeze. Yeah.
Okay.
He's very
Well, I'm
much.
talking about
Yep.
scratching and whatnot as well, though.
Um. Yeah. His tail. Yeah. He bites his tail quite a bit.
Okay.
He'll bite the fur off it all day if we don't stop him.
Yeah, and some dogs get minor allergies, but some dogs get pretty severe.
Okay.
Now, where was I heading with that? It can actually cause behavioral issues as well.
Okay.
Okay, hypothyroidism can. It cause a whole host of things long term if it's not treated and caught, because
Gotcha.
it can lead to adrenal diseases. It can lead to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, the whole slew. And this is
Okay.
why I'm I'm enraged with vets right now because they're always about cutting them off. And it's even worse
Yeah.
for a female because they're doing complete hysterectomy on a female. It's called surgical menopause, right? For a reason. And then
Mhm.
they don't offer hormone replacement therapy. It's not even an option for animals. So just to focus on that, and then you can not carry on. So what exactly do you want from him now? Is I guess the big question.
We just want to be able to engage and interact with him without fear of a spontaneous attack. And I'd like to get to the root cause, really, of what's happening,
Yeah,
so we can fix it.
we're gonna get there. Can you tell me what else the behaviors did?
Uh,
Did she do anything?
now that I'm thinking about it, not a whole lot. She took a lot of information from us and suggested and gave us some prescriptions, and that was about it. There was a mentor with the behaviorist as well, and she did say something that I didn't like, and I outwardly said that I don't particularly like how and what she said, but um, I had said to them that I just want to see him happy, and the mentor said, "Well, there's a whole cocktail of medications that we can give him," and I said, I don't like the sound of that," and she said,
See,
"Well, that's not what I meant."
yeah, the problem the medications do nothing for behaviors. So I mean, behaviors
Yeah,
themselves. What people need to understand is that something is causing the behavior. As
yeah,
behavior is not a condition you can fix, but trainers tell you it's a condition. It's a fixable condition. This is the reason why you're using reward and punishment. Reward and
yeah,
punishment doesn't work on anything. Okay, not even in human society, but that's what we live in. But people need to understand that a behavior is just a reaction to the environment. That's all it is. If you're
right,
scared of spiders, then you're operating conditioned to fight or flight.
yep,
And when you see a spider, you're going to produce cortisol, which creates or causes fight or flight. So the way
yep,
the science actually works, when there's an environmental trigger, if you're scared of spiders and you see a spider, your body starts producing cortisol in response to that trigger. And
Hmm.
your body is actually reacting to the cortisol load, not so much the spider. So if we can use CBD to get those cortisol levels down, you're going to see a different
Okay.
dog. Okay.
All right.
And then the other part of it too, with the thyroid glands and whatnot, when dogs are neutered, especially at a young age, there's only one other set of organs that can actually produce any amount of testosterone, and that's the adrenal glands.
Okay.
Now the adrenal glands start producing cortisol, so they're producing a lot of cortisol. So if you spay or neuter a reactive dog, they're already running hot on cortisol, which is produced by the adrenal glands. Now the adrenal
Hmm.
glands got to you're almost lighting the fire underneath the adrenal glands, because now the adrenal glands have to start producing testosterone or estrogen as well. And when they start becoming exhausted, you're looking at Cushing's, you're looking at Addison's, and a whole host of other diseases. So let's begin.
All right. Um,
Where what's the cause of the behaviors? I mean, it could be medical at this point. We don't know.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we were just kind of pushed into the spay and neuter
Yeah, no, and
early
it's
on.
just understand from my perspective, this is not your fault. Your people are victims of dog training, and they're victims of vets. They're victims of the entire system, because the dog is just nothing but a money pit anymore. And do no harm
Yeah,
with the dog is out the window. I'm sorry. It's just reality. When vets are cutting off dogs' nuts and doing hysterectomies, knowing full well that the outcome is money down the road, guaranteed sick dog at some point, you
yeah.
know?
We've spent thousands, two max credit cards.
Hmm.
Anything we could do to make it work, and it's getting to the point now where it's we just
Can't
people
do
are
it.
seeing the scars.
Yeah. How much did the behaviors cost you?
The behaviorist was on a sliding because she was in um, residency. That's why she had the mentor with her. So it was only 200, but each visit is 200. So she had another visit scheduled, and then they started talking about euthanasia. So I kind of kiboshed that, talked to Tana, and that's not something we want to do right now.
Did she meet your dog?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. She works about 45 minutes away from where we live. We drove out there. We met her. And the thing is about 95% of the time, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, he's a great dog. There's smiley, but it's that when he gets in that mode and he just wants to, just nothing else matters except latching on to somebody.
Okay. So, have you employed any kind of training or anything?
We did training very early on. I do train at home. He knows, God, probably about 10 commands and an additional maybe about 15 tricks.
Okay.
So probably about 20. Yeah. We took a trainer early on. They just kind of taught us the basics. Then we started socializing him after his original set of vaccinations were through. So he could actually socialize with animals. He did great for a little while, and then it just started getting worse and worse at the park too. So we stopped training him and doing things there, and now it's just kind of been really at home is the only place that we can consistently do these things.
Okay, so what kind of training are you planning right now, if any?
Really, it's just so we've taught him like the drop it. He's got a pretty good drop it with certain things, unless it's extremely high value. He knows if I tell him to go to bed, he'll go lay down and go to bed. He's pretty good with. Oh God, what else do we do? He waits. If you tell him to wait, he'll wait for pretty much anything you tell him to wait for. He'll wait. You get his leash on, wait for a treat, wait for as I'm preparing dinner for him. He'll sit there and wait.
Okay, so you're using
Um,
treats too, are you?
yeah, yeah. We've done positive reinforcement the entire way through. So that's how we did our drop it too. Was kind of like a trade up,
Okay.
where he'd have a toy or something, and then we give him a treat.
Okay.
Trade the toy. We take the toy.
Okay. The picture's getting a little clearer. Just 1 second. Now, just understand what I'm going to be saying here has no reflection on you. Like I say,
Okay.
if, all you've done is what you've been told by professionals,
Yeah.
and it's not your fault. Okay, you're victims in all this stuff. Dog owners are victims in all this crap. I mean, when you start looking at operant conditioning, you got to go back to a fellow by the name of B.F. Skinner. And Skinner did experiments on animals in a lab in order to understand human beings. Okay, Human beings are animals, and he tried to wake the world up to the controls that's going on right now using reward and punishment. I mean, punishment doesn't work because a behavior is not a fixable condition. It's not a condition at all. Something
Right.
is causing the dog to show aggression. We got to figure out what that is. And that's,
Right.
you need to focus on the cause. Once you fix the cause, then the aggression goes away. That's the way it works. That's called extinction from a scientific standpoint. What dog trainers right now are selling as operant conditioning is actually a fellow by the name of Conrad Most. Okay? And he's actually goes back to, he published a book in 1910 called Training Dogs, and he was actually a German colonel that was training German Shepherds for the war effort. And he was doing it by hook or by crook. Okay? So what you know is the quadrants of dog training, the positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment, and Skinner was dead set against punishment, by the way. So what you know is the quadrants of dog training, Conrad Most actually called primary and secondary inducements and compulsions. Okay? So just to get that out of the way. So we need to throw everything quadrants in the garbage, and including what you know of positive reinforcement, because what trainers are selling as positive reinforcement ain't positive reinforcement. It's abuse. Literally, it's abuse.
Okay.
What I employ primarily is understanding of operant conditioning, because operant conditioning has to be from the animal's choice. And that's the problem today. Dogs aren't getting choices. Okay? It's about putting the onus on the animal. Now, also, trust technique views animals as sentient, just like we are. And sentient means you have, you got a brain in your head, you got a full gamut of emotions, you can make choices the whole 9 yards. And there's a reason why they say that raising dogs is great practice for raising kids, because they get the same same needs. Okay?
Yeah.
And a lot of times dogs' needs are not being met. Now, when we get into treats and stuff like that, treats are actually a punishment and reward and punishment. So for people that take their dog out for a walk, like positive reinforcement is the animal's desires. And a calm state is number one positive reinforcement for any animal, because no animal wants to live in fear. No animal wants to live amped up. I mean, my ex-girlfriend was bloody manic. I finally had to break it off. But the thing of it is, no animal wants to live like that. And human beings are animals as well. So we need to look at the dog as a human, in a sense. Okay?
Okay.
And realize that,
Yeah.
what makes you aggressive? What makes you angry? What makes you aggressive? What scares you? What makes you reactive is no different for the dog. And it's all about operant conditioning. So I'll use Monty as an example of operant conditioning, how it can happen so fast. I got a video on my YouTube channel where he got all of a sudden reacted to a tractor out in the field. He's never met one before. Now, a lot of people will stand there with treats and try to, make it not a big deal. No, that's not the way you got to do it. So it took me off guard. It's so rare he ever reacts to anything. So I just started walking forward. I'm going to go meet the tractor. He can stay where he is, but he chooses to follow me. And put it down and make it not a big deal. So this is how you build trust and overcome fear. Because in the face of a negative reinforcement, and a spider, if you're scared of spiders, is a negative reinforcement. If you're scared of spiders, then the spider is literally punishing you. It's taking away your positive reinforcement. Okay?
Right.
And your positive reinforcements are your desires to remove the good, or for the good things in life, and to remove the bad. So as part of the dark side of positive reinforcement is fight or flight. So you're going to show aggression or you're going to run away. But either way, you're either going to remove negative reinforcement by force, or you're going to move away from it. That's your positive reinforcement. So all this treat stuff is just no good.
And that's exactly what the behaviorist said to us too, is that we should be bribing him. We need to be bribing him. So that's for the past 2-3 months. Anything that he didn't want to do, or anything that we would have to get him to do something. Even stuff as simple as getting out of the back of the car, or getting up in the morning to go use the potty. We've been bribing him with treats, because that's what my behaviorist said to do.
Yep. And treats are the worst thing you can use for behaviors, because number one, it fixes nothing. Number two, treats are actually a secondary reinforcer. You're supposed to be the primary reinforcer. So treats are actually a secondary reinforcer, and another secondary reinforcer is money. So you go to work every day to earn money. A secondary reinforcer to buy your primary reinforcers, your positive reinforcements, the things that you want in your life. What is the dog actually able to buy with a treat? Nothing.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, like, you're actually in third place right now, because if your dog's chasing after a squirrel in a tree, and you got a treat in your hand, the dog's making a choice between the squirrel in the tree or the treat. You're not even part of the game anymore. You've taken yourself right out of the game.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense.
Yep. So the main consideration I would tell you is to, number one, get rid of any toys that he doesn't need. Like, you can keep toys of engagement. So if you got a rope if you got a rope for a tug or whatever have you, any toy that you can use for engagement, keep that. But Get rid of the
Okay.
rest. Because
Yeah.
toys tend to drive a dog nuts. They tend to keep him mentally amped. And
Okay.
what
Okay.
everybody wants is an overall calm dog. That's all you really
Yeah.
want.
Of course.
Nobody wants an uncalm dog. The uncalm dog is the one that's ill behaved, right? So we
Yeah.
need to start focusing everything on calm, and we need to look at appropriate exercise as well.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah. He's got a whole toy box.
Yeah.
So
I would remove
that's,
the toys, and
yeah.
essentially, if he's got a cortisol problem, then cannabis oil should help you. But
Okay.
the main thing is right now is that people tend to have everything around that keeps the dog in an excited state, and we're redirecting an excited mind to more excitement. To a treat or a toy or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the dog never gets to come down, so they're always on the escalator, right?
Right. Right.
And
They're always up.
they're always mentally amped up, and they got like dogs get mental health just like we do. And
Right.
most of the dogs that I work with, like especially pit bulls, they got some serious mental shit going on, and they got to blow out those lines. And a lot of times with pit bulls, like the whole thing with control and management, when you take a pit bull that's all of a sudden growling at the public or raging at the public, whatever have you, the first thing you do is control and manage it. So you're
Yep.
dragging it around or putting a prong or muzzle or just not even taking it out of the house or the yard anymore. So all of a sudden the world is shrinking.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah. And
just
that was.
causing more frustration, more mental. And they're bouncing off the walls.
Yep.
But yet you get the dog on a treadmill or you get them on a flirt pole, which is tools we're going to talk about, or chasing out an RC car and all that. Like, one, they're doing something that they like doing, especially to chase, because that's what dogs are missing today. A lot of dogs get to run, but they never get to chase. Okay?
Okay.
Because that's what every dog, just what everybody was bred for. Hunting dogs chase, herding dogs
Right.
chase, even tracking dogs chase. And that's the mental, and that activates every bloody system in their body, and it tires them out, right?
Right.
So what we have today is a bunch of unsatisfied dogs. A lot of owners expect their German Shepherd to be happy. Like a dog that's been bred to run and chase sheep all day. They expect him to be happy with 2 walks a day and a toy on the couch. It's not working that way. You know.
Yep.
So the main thing you need to understand is that what you've been doing to him is completely and absolutely disrespectful. And
Okay.
all he knows, if all you learn is disrespect, that's all you can give back.
Okay.
So here's where we got to start turning the tables. You got to start showing him some respect. And treats are not respectful. You got to look at him like a human child, like literally.
Okay.
Okay? Because he is a sentient animal, just like we are.
Yeah.
He's got a brain in his
Yep.
head. And the problem is right now, that's what I find with most dogs today is it even starts out with control and management. So, when you get an 8-week-old puppy, the vet tells you don't have it around dogs because it's not vaccinated. So you're starting
Yep.
off right there. Then you get into the training groups, and all of a sudden, lock it in a crate. Don't have it around dogs
Yep.
and lock it in the crate. And it starts from a puppy, control and management, and that bloody disrespect. And people are like, well, crating is great. Well, number one, if you try to stuff my ass in a crate, I better have trust for you.
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't trust you,
Yep.
when I get back out, there's no way I'm going back in. But
And
that's the
we're
whole
just
thing with trust, right?
and we were just in. I could see that because we were just introducing ourselves to him. Really, we had within the first month we had gotten a pen, and he was set that way, just because, like you said, that's what we were told to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I say, it's not your fault. It's what you were told to do. And one big thing I hear from owners, once they understand trust technique and operant conditioning and they start helping their dog, they look at me, they go, I don't even know how I got on this training in the first place. Like, how did this
Yeah.
happen? Like, people my age, they've never trained a dog in their life. They never had to. All of a
Yep.
sudden, they get a dog 5 years ago, and they're going, I got to train the dog. And they don't even know how it starts.
Yep.
But once you're on that train, you're not getting back off.
Yeah.
So don't focus on training because you cannot train behaviors. Stop
Okay.
training everything. Okay? Just let him be for a
Yeah.
while. Just let
Yeah.
him
Of
be.
course.
Don't approach him. Let him approach you.
Okay. We
So
can definitely do that.
the biggest, like, I'm all about relationships. And the number one relationship today is a working relationship. That's what's missing today. We don't have a use for the dog anymore. We don't need dogs anymore. So
Right.
we're taking these dogs and we're trying to get them to fit in our lives.
Hmm.
And that's where the problem lay. So I mean, most dogs, just about every breed is a working breed, except for Chihuahua and like the French bulldogs and whatnot. I mean, yeah, they're working dogs as well, but very few dogs are not bred to work. Okay, just about every dog is bred to work, and that's what they
Okay.
want to do. The genes don't go away. So
Yep.
people need to understand that trainers are talking about genetic aggression. Pit bulls are genetically aggressive. No, you're suppressing the dog's genetics. That's where the aggression exists.
Okay.
They got to get out and work, especially like pit bulls. That's my number one client. And like I say, they just get so worked up in the head. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I've met pit bulls that couldn't even, like, they're manic, literally manic. They're running around the house like a freight train. You get them outside and you got a leash, they're going from a level 6 to a level 10, and they're trying to attack the world.
That's pepperoni.
Yeah.
that's
And that's all mental stress.
Yeah.
He's got serious mental health issues, and people go, my dog is reactive, my dog is aggressive. No, your dog's a bloody basket case right now.
Yeah.
And he needs to break the lines, right? And you can pretty well see I'm very abrupt right now. It's just.
Oh,
I
understand. I understand completely what you're saying right now.
But just understand, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's what you've been told to do, and I mean, the vets are not your best friend. The behaviors are not your best friend, and they're all throwing Conrad most to you, and most of them don't even know it.
Yeah.
They believe it's all Skinner, right? They're all blaming B.F. Skinner, a man that didn't believe in punishment at all, but yet.
Yeah. That's to think that we've been using the techniques of a man who trained German war dogs. It's kind of disgusting, but.
And I wish everybody would read that book from Conrad Most, because you would understand that is the very basis of dog training today. Dog training is Schutzhund in disguise, and it's not working. They're actually creating attack dogs. That's the problem.
Yeah, we don't want attack dogs.
But I mean, it's so when we look at things medical, if you said he has some minor allergies?
It would appear so. I believe so.
Is he overweight?
He's a big Shiba. I wouldn't say he's overweight.
Does he have
but
periods of being lethargic?
I think due to the medication.
Okay, so those are those are some of the big side effects of hypothyroidism.
Okay.
So what I would do is actually get him out the Prozac, because but you're gonna have to wean him out to Prozac. Prozac's pretty crazy stuff. It usually takes a week or two of lower doses.
He did miss a day. Yeah, you had said earlier too that the gabapentin. We're gonna have to wean him off of that. He did miss a day, all day today. Is that something that we should pick back up on?
If nothing else, talk to your vet. Just tell him that you're taking a different direction. All right.
That's what I
want to talk to you anyway right now about picking him off medications.
That's what I did. I did tell her to tell her that once he started the gabapentin and the Keppra is when we started noticing things going really downhill. Her suggestion and the behaviorist suggestion was that we euthanize, and I told them, I'm talking to someone. Let me take him off this medication first and see how he reacts towards this. But yeah, we can wean him off the Prozac as well. That most definitely.
And honestly, I don't know if I'd mix cannabis oil with Prozac, because, like I say, Prozac doesn't do anything directly for CBD, or for cortisol. But the thing with CBD actually increases all the feel-good chemicals in the brain. It works the same in people. So it increases dopamine, and increases endorphins, serotonin and whatnot. And all of those natural chemicals actually force down cortisol. Okay, so.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, and a lot of times you get one warning with when you start CBD, because you're going to be starting with a pound or 1 milligram per pound of the dog twice a day.
Okay.
And a lot of dogs that have been reactive for a long time, they're going cold turkey. From literally going cold turkey, they're coming off the cortisol, because cortisol becomes addictive, and that's all part and parcel of operant conditioning. Okay. So when they go that first day, a lot of dogs that have been reactive for a long time, they get really weird, and it's almost like a lost appearance. They don't know what to do with themselves, because all of a sudden the cortisol is not there and they're not reacting.
Yeah.
But if that happens, just give them a day to relax and then go back to normal.
We've been trying to give them some space recently anyway, but
that's the big thing to do. Try to look at things from his perspective. Like a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's you, it's just in general. Like a lot of people, they walk into a house and they're all grabbing a dog, and the dog's ready to bite them. Well, that's being disrespectful. You're invading the dog's space without their permission.
Yeah.
So if you watch my videos online, I actually walk into a backyard with dogs that Dog Daddy was stringing up at a freaking neck, but I'm just walking in calmly. And I'm putting the onus on the dog. You know what? And I recognize that a lot of dogs just need to blow the lines. Like when I work with Bear, I mean, she had a long line of blows. She barked, she raged, she did it all. She nipped me 3 freaking times. But then when she finally calmed down, she became a completely different dog. On the fourth session with her, the fourth hour, we went to a dog park, and she walked into a dog park for the first time in her life. She started saying hello to people and dogs. I'm like, holy crap! Just because she got rid of all that stress,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
completely different dog, right?
we've been all three of us have been living sheltered for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Can't have people over, rarely.
And that's a side
We
effect of
can,
control and management.
yeah, it's bad. It's made me depressed. It's caused Tana some issues.
Well, here's the thing. What actually happened at some point, you operate condition yourself, and the dog operate condition themselves to a trauma bond. Okay.
Okay.
You ever hear those words?
No,
Okay,
I'm not
there's a fellow
familiar.
online by the name of Mark DeBose. You should sit down and listen to some of his videos as well.
Okay.
He's a former balance trainer that's on a path to change, and he's coming out with some really good speaking videos. And he's showing his dogs on the spot, right? Jesus, my train of thought just left. What was I saying?
Mark's videos.
What was that before?
Mark, um, trauma bond.
Yeah, trauma bonding. But he said the words trauma bond to me one night. Like, I've been trying to figure out exactly what's going on. But as soon as he mentioned those two words, trauma bond, I went, oh shit, you know what? That's bang on. So what ends up happening for a lot of owners is that they have a fine dog, but all of a sudden one thing happens. It could be a growl at a child, it could be a growl at a dog, and they're going, oh my God, is that aggression?
Yep.
And that's the instant. One moment is all it takes to create a lifetime of fear, and that's the instant of a trauma bond. And what a trauma bond is, it's a mutual bond. It happens a lot with women that get abused by a husband. And so
Okay.
cycles of positive reinforcement and abuse. Okay? So it's all about reward and punishment. So what ends up happening, your dog right now is punishing you in a lot of ways, but it's also
Okay.
giving you reward in a lot of ways. Okay? So the dog
Yeah.
is punishing you because it's actually harming your life. And the thing of it
It's
is,
Stockholm,
pardon?
right? It's
It's
Stockholm,
kind of
right?
a part of
In
a little bit
in a strange kind
a
of
little bit,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, you're
Okay.
trauma bonded to your dog as well,
Yeah.
and your dog is trauma
Yeah.
bonded to you, and that's what needs to be broken.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's all about
That's
relationships. So right now, you can't trust your dog doesn't trust you. And in
yep.
human terms, I mean, if you can't trust your spouse, then guess what? The relationship is over, if it ever existed in the
Yeah.
first place. So
Wow.
trauma bonding is the big thing right now. And like I say, all it takes is that one moment, and then you end up with trainers, or you jump into the dog training community, and they're like, oh my God, that's aggression. You got to control your dog. And people are
Yep.
all of a sudden really afraid. And it's always the fear.
Yeah.
And the interesting part of how much time we got left here? Okay, another 5 minutes here on this session. But when you look at B.F. Skinner, like I say, he wasn't a fan of punishment. And how he actually he actually proved in a lab of what's happening with humanity, with rewards and punishment. And it's all about manipulation. So when you're actually getting rewards and punished, it's actually manipulation in the worst, because it's exploitation is what it is. That's what dog
Okay.
training is exploiting the animal. And they're telling
Yeah.
owners that the dog is just a dumb animal with no emotions. This is why,
Yeah.
and the problem is, again, with dogs, they're so bloody forgiving. They just want to be with us. The dog is the only, I think the dog really is the only animal on the planet that want to be with us. So they will take abuse, they will take, punishment, whatever have you, and keep coming back and coming back. But at some point, with all the disrespect, they're going to stand up and say, hey, you know what, I've had enough of this shit. Stop it, or I'm going to
Yeah.
bite you. And a lot of times it comes out of nowhere. But again,
Yeah.
it's not your fault. It's just what you've been told to do. Dog trainers are pushing the wrong person. If they were pushing B.F. Skinner, we wouldn't have any problems at all. But most of them are pushing the wrong person by the name of Conrad Most, and most of them don't even know it, because all they've been told is that it's B.F. Skinner. B.F.
Yeah.
Skinner had nothing to do with the quadrants. So that's just a little bit of science on it. So
Yeah.
I guess when dealing with him, you should be looking at trying to put the onus on him to make a choice.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
is there any times when he's not calm?
Yeah. I mean, quite a bit.
Okay.
He's at home. He's mostly calm. Like I said, it's hard. It's hard to say when he's gonna have a meltdown. But we generally try to keep it. I do notice that if I am playing with him, we're playing tug or fetch or something like that in the house. If it gets if it goes on a little too long, or maybe if it gets a little too rough, then he will start. Um,
Getting
he'll try to
agitated.
mount me.
Okay.
Um,
That's usually confusion in a relationship. We got about 30 seconds left. Can we take a 2 minute
okay.
break and I'll send you a new link and carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect.
I want to get into operant conditioning and trust technique.
Okay.
Okay, so give me a few minutes here and I'll send you a new link.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You got to put the onus on him. So whenever you want him to do something, set him up
Yep.
to make the choice.
Okay.
So when you get him in the car, is he on a leash?
Yes.
Okay. So just stand up with a leash in your hand and ask him instead, and have the
Okay.
patience to wait.
Okay. So we're gonna have to make time for that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And the thing of it is, there's a whole lot of things that need to be undone. So there's a whole lot of
Okay.
conditioning right now he needs to get past. One of the
Okay.
moderators in my group, his name is Reeford, and he's got two. Can't even remember names now, but they're big dogs, guardian breeds, and he said the same thing. I mean, it took probably 2 or 3 months before everything came around. Like all of a sudden, when the dog had freedom, he started using it. But then he started
Okay.
making the choice to be with the owner, right? And once they make that
Right.
choice, that's when the bond really hits. So the whole thing
That's all about.
is the big thing for you right now. I think is going to be impulse control as well.
Okay.
I'm just making a little list here of things we need to get through. So, what other things that does he do you ever use treats for to try to bribe him to
Um.
do things?
Um. I I feed him treats. I can do it without treats now, but he's more reliable with them. General grooming. I have not been able to get his nails done once.
That's
Well,
a
I've
big
got
one.
them done. Yeah, yeah. The nails. The way that they had told me to train him with that was to introduce the clippers and bring the clippers up to him, let him sniff it, and then give him a treat, show him the clippers again, give him a treat, back and
Yeah.
forth, back and forth.
So he's conditioned for that right now. So this is where a lot of problems are going to start coming in, and this is where you're going to start putting some real time and effort into him.
Okay.
Number one is being calm. Trust technique is all about being calm. When
Okay.
an animal finds peace in your presence, they're going to trust you. Okay.
Yep.
So, and that's the hardest thing for people to do. It's the hardest part about trust technique is actually find your own peace. Because
Yep.
most people
Yep.
are still emotional and we almost get addicted to it. And this is all
Yeah.
part of the trauma bond, okay? So try to
Yep.
remain calm. So when I go to, when Monty was 5 years old when I first got him, and they couldn't cut his nails. They had to wrap him up like a bloody burrito, and there was always blood. Either his
Okay.
nails were bleeding or they were bleeding, one or the other.
Yep.
So what I did was actually just let him sniff the clippers and
Yep.
take his paw. And if he said no, if he pulled his paw back, you know what? We're going to try later on.
Okay.
I know it sounds silly, but the whole thing is, it's about showing the dog respect. At some
Yep.
point, he's going to let me take his paw, and I'm going to start clipping his nails. Okay? But the whole thing is, it has to be his choice to let it happen.
Okay.
Now, number one with owners, I always tell them to record yourself. Put the camera behind the dog, and then approach your dog with the camera or with the clippers.
Yep.
Then watch the video
Okay.
and ask yourself point blank: with the person coming at you with a pair of clippers, would you want them coming near you?
No.
Because a lot of times the face and the expression and the body language that you're putting forth, the dog is going, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's a disrespect thing. So people are always trying to get the dog to do things, and that's what you need to change. Ask the dog to do things instead,
Okay.
because you're going to get a lot further when you start asking, and it might take him a while to make that choice. But this is his operant conditioning. So the dog needs to make the choice to change his operant conditioning, because that's how it works. So when you meet something new in the environment, one or two things is going to happen. Okay, you're either going to fight with it, flight from it, or you're going to become indifferent to it. Okay, there's three things. And indifference is socialized. Indifference makes it not a big deal. Now, the
Yeah.
big thing with human beings, we can rationalize. So if you meet something new in the environment, you're going to rationalize away, is it worth being afraid of?
Right.
The dog doesn't do that. The dog is very honest about their emotions. And when they show fear, they're really afraid.
Okay.
Okay? And this is something that you need to be aware of as well. The only environment in reality the dog cares about is one holding the leash. If you're not in the right state of mind, guess what? They're going to be reactive too. And a lot of
That
people
makes
don't
sense.
realize that they are the reactive ones. and they're actually very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And if the environment at the end of the leash is vulnerable, the dog is going, okay, you know what, I got to protect that. But if you can
Yeah.
give calm and just confidence, so if you ever go into a high fear state, it's not a good feeling, right? But if
No.
you see somebody
No.
that's calm and confident while you're scared shitless, it's pretty attractive to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly
Definitely.
what you need to do with the dog. So be the change you want in the dog.
Okay. Okay.
Another big thing I tell people, if you want to understand your dog more, go take a long, hard look in the mirror at the reflection of the animal staring back at you.
Okay.
And that's the number one thing that people don't realize. And that was the number one thing that Skinner pushed, was that human beings are animals, but we need to accept it. Because when we think we have free will, now we're susceptible to a reward and punishment. We don't have
Yeah.
free will when it comes to behaviors. They're not an internal act of free will. You don't get to choose how you behave. Your body's choosing that. So when you get
Right.
into psychology itself, psychology is the actual study of the mind and the behavior. Okay? Now, what Skinner was focused on was the behavior because he didn't need the mind to shape behavior. It's the environment that shapes behavior, and he was changing the environment. It was up to the dog to do what to do, or it was up to the animal in the cage, or in his human practice, it was up to the human. So he
Okay.
was manipulating the environment, and like in the case of aggressive children, their positive reinforcement was the response. He didn't care about the mind. He didn't need the mind. But that's all we're focusing on today is the mind. We throw in behavior in the garbage. Like
Yeah.
literally, dog training has thrown the science of behavior in the garbage. And all they're focused on now is the mind. It's the feelings, feelings over facts. And this is entire society today. Because all of psychology has thrown behavior in the garbage and they're focused on the mind. And that's a huge problem. Because
Okay.
the mind doesn't matter when it comes to behavior. It really doesn't. So
And that's,
it's really screwed up. So you got to set them up for positive consequences. Dogs today
okay.
experience a lot of negative consequence, and technically it treats a positive consequence, but the problem is an exploitation. It's a manipulation tactic because you want the dog to you're rewarding the dog for doing what you want, not for what they want.
Oh,
Okay,
right.
and that's the whole thing with positive reinforcement: is the animal's desires. What does the animal want? And a lot of people are taking away that positive reinforcement, the dog's desires, using leashes, choke chains, muzzles, whatever have you, and they
Mhm.
don't realize that that's punishment. Punishment is the removal of positive reinforcement. So when you remove your dog's desires, you're actually punishing the dog. When somebody removes your desires, they're punishing you.
Right.
And once you understand it all, it's a real mind job.
Yeah. That's,
So when something is a positive consequence, we keep doing it. Okay?
yeah.
If something is of a negative consequence, you don't do it. That's your operant conditioning. So if you have a child who reaches out and touches a hot stove, the negative consequence of the burn operant conditions them to don't do it again, avoid.
Right.
But yet, if you're the same child goes out and shovels the neighbor's driveway and all of a sudden gets $20 for it, that's a positive consequence that makes them keep wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're getting a secondary reinforcer that makes them that drives their positive reinforcement.
Right.
So what we need to do is start setting the dog up to make positive consequences.
Okay.
Because when you get positive consequences, that's when things change, because they want to keep
Okay.
doing it. Now the dark side of that thing, and this is where addiction comes in. Cortisol is very addictive. Cortisol drives addictions. When people get stressed,
Okay.
they drink, they smoke, they eat, they whatever have you, because of
Yeah.
cortisol. Dogs can become addicted to cortisol as well. And this is
Okay.
the hardest part to a change. Now, when a dog goes fight or flight, or any animal goes fight or flight, without any assistance like CBD, it takes a full 20 minutes for the cortisol to start to dissipate. So they're
Okay.
on that cortisol level for 20 minutes. And
Yep.
that's what you need to be aware of too. So if you're out in the environment and he has a fear episode, his
Yeah.
cortisol's gone up and is going to stay up
For 20 minutes.
for 20 minutes. It's going to take 20 minutes for it at least to even start dissipating. So don't do anything. Don't try to train.
A lot of sense.
Let him calm down.
Yep. Yep.
Dogs
That's
and
good.
when the dog's completely calm, they'll always make the right choices. Human beings the same way. Well, not always the same way, but when we're calm, we tend to make better choices. But
That's
when you're amped up,
what
when
you,
you're afraid or angry, we make the wrong choices, and it can get to the point where you can kill somebody. It's called a crime of passion, and that's a dangerous
yeah.
dog. That's what your dangerous
That,
dog is. When you're so worked up in the head, you're not thinking properly. You're a dangerous animal, and that's the same for the dog. That's a dangerous dog.
that's probably the most true thing I think I've heard in regard to any kind of training with him or any kind of behavior, anything with him. It's what you just said is absolutely 100% true
Yeah.
to a T.
What makes you angry? What makes you aggressive? What scares you? What makes you reactive? What puts you into fight or flight? Because that's fight is aggression, flight is avoidance.
Yep.
Indifference is what you want.
Yep.
Indifference is nothing's a big deal. That's what socialized is. Social skills is a different animal. Fight, flight, or become indifferent. Indifferent is socialized. Indifferent is nothing's a big deal.
Yeah.
When you become not a big deal, your dog is going to look at the environment differently.
Yep.
Always. So a dog should be a constant reminder for people to remain calm. It doesn't mean you can't get crazy with a beer watching a hockey game. But if you do that, where's the dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at your dog.
Yeah. Is he
Monty,
perked
if I
up?
get excited or get like if I get angry, if I'm in the car and somebody cuts me off and I all of a sudden start going ballistic, I look over at him and he's like, "What's going on?" Like my emotions really so badly affect him.
Yeah.
Trainers would call him a soft dog, but that's the whole thing. Like dogs read us like a book, and they do it in real time. They're reading us in ways. They're doing it through smell, through sense, through sight, through. I mean, dogs can see UV. They see you in UV. Okay, they're reading you in ways that we can't even imagine, and they're doing it in real time. So
Yeah.
when I'm in the backyard, just for example, when Bear came at me, she started bluff charging me to the point of inches,
Yeah.
and the animal instinct, all of a sudden she had that moment of fear. Like I'm not afraid of dogs, but it doesn't mean they can't scare me. But just that
Yeah.
one instant of fear, I felt the hair in the back of my neck go up, and I went, "Oh shit, here she comes!" And she came in and she bit me
Yep.
because she just that one instance of fear changed the entire game. That's how fast they read us.
And that's how we've been tiptoeing around him. I've been tiptoeing around him at least for
Yeah,
a couple weeks now,
and he's looking at
and
you going, "You're not right. You're not." But
yeah, yeah, because I am afraid of getting attacked again, and I'm trying to maintain my distance, and I can physically feel that fear inside of me,
yeah.
and yeah, I've thought to myself, is this can he sense this? Can he sense the way I'm feeling it now? And it's been difficult. It's just standing up and having that confidence, regardless of how he's going to react to it.
Yep.
We should probably start.
And that's exactly. I look at dogs in the backyard. They're barking at the world. Well, they can't. Most
Yeah.
dogs can't see the world, so they're barking at,
Yep.
and they can sense the emotions of people. So if all of a sudden an aggressive pit bull is barking at the fence, people go okay, and they move away.
Yep.
The dog feels that. But can you imagine living life as a dog where everything around you is afraid?
Yeah.
Afraid of you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Imagine what life feels like that. What would
yeah.
that do
That's
to
that.
you? What would that do to the animal that you are? Because when I
That's
walk into
horrible.
a backyard and I see a dog, I'm thinking to myself, what would it take to put the animal that I am into the state that dog is in where he's ready to kill the world? And
Yeah.
that changes the game. And again, none of this is your fault. It's just the way a lot of people
Yeah.
end up on the training train because that's all there is, right?
Yep. Yep. That's the books we've bought. That's the people we've spoke to. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. So you're going to have a bit of a rough road for probably the next couple of weeks until you can get them out to Prozac. And like I
Yep.
say, I would urge you to highly urge you to start CBD when the
Yeah.
Prozac is done.
Yep.
Because like I say, CBD actually does something for cortisol. Prozac doesn't. And once you get the appropriate levels, like you start off with 1 milligram per pound of dog twice a day.
Yep.
One of the big how does he sleep? Does he sleep deep or is he awake, reactive?
He is a very light sleeper. He's not a reactive sleeper at all. He goes to bed around the same time I do, which is he's right about now. And then I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning with him. But most of the time he'll just kind of lay in his bed, dozing off in a wake sleep state.
So he never
Um,
gets the
and,
he never gets the deep sleep really.
not too
Okay.
often.
Well, what would that do to you?
It's it's happening to me right now,
Yeah.
so I can
Yeah.
I can
And that's the one
feel
big
it.
side effect of CBD that I hear is that it offers you give the a good dose before they go to bed, and it's going to be a good night's sleep for the dog. That's one of the big side effects that I've seen. One
And
of my
that's
clients got four pit bull crosses, and he
yep,
said that first night he dosed them with CBD. Like normally they go to bed, they're all wired up and they're all grumpy and they're all ready to fight before they lay down. He said he gave them
yep.
a dose an hour before bed. There wasn't a sound. They went to bed and he had to wake two of them up in the morning.
Okay.
You know, it can hit some
Yeah.
dogs really hard, really fast.
Okay.
Okay, and usually within a day, you're going to see changes. You'll see those
Okay.
differences in cortisol loads. But a lot of times it'll take 2 3 weeks to like. There's a cannabis itself is incredible because animals again we have a endocannabinoid system as part of our immune system,
Yeah.
and dogs have one that's more powerful than we have. They're more
Okay.
susceptible to it. Okay, so there's over 100 cannabinoids in cannabis itself. So if you can find cannabis oil, buy cannabis oil and feed it to the dog, you should be getting a broad spectrum, which contains no THC. So
Okay.
but there's a 100 other cannabinoids that are actually designed to interact with us. So we got
Okay.
CBG, we got CBN, CBT. It's lots of good stuff, and
Yeah.
that can actually help the dog in so many ways that we still don't understand. But again, with CBD, people take CBD for anxiety and stuff, and it really helps them out too.
Okay.
You know, but again, if you can get the cortisol levels down, but you got to focus on getting them out to Prozac, and you might be in for a bit of a ride until that Prozac
Okay.
is done. But
Yep.
again, you might see positive changes once the Prozac is done.
Sure.
We don't know.
That's great.
But
If
again, let's but
either way,
starting
it's got
right
to go.
now, start trying to set them up to give them choice, because it's all about positive and negative consequences of choices. Okay, so again, when you're feeding the treat, you're rewarding the dog. You're giving a positive consequence for following your orders. It's
Yes.
not the actual dog's choice to do so. When you start setting him up, that he's going to be making the choices, and he's going to get the positive and negative consequence of those choices. That's when things start to change, because now he's making the choice. He's actually getting a positive consequence based on his choice. And
Yep.
when you start setting him up for that, that's when things really start changing, because all those positive consequences, those get addictive. But again, getting back, I know what I want to say, but cortisol, the dark side of positive reinforcement is gambling.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's just a reality. Because if you buy a lottery ticket and all of a sudden win 10 grand, that's going to be a positive consequence that could end up causing you to be a gambler, because you're going to keep ponying up. And I see this
Oh,
in dog training all the time, because dog owners are always looking for the highest value treat. That jackpot reward is going to fix everything, and it never comes.
yeah.
When you start
Absolutely.
when you start with a e-collar, you always start low, but yet you're going for that jackpot, and you're going to crank it up and up and up. That's all the gambling that's going on. And dog owners don't realize that they're actually addicted to dog training.
Yeah.
And the dog is actually addicted to what you're doing. The dog is addicted to the food. The dog is addicted to the collar.
Really, that's it. It's two, at least once a week, maybe sometimes even 2 or 3 times a week. We'll just find ourselves in the pet store buying treats
Yeah,
for no reason. We've got treats at home.
yeah. And they're always looking for that high value reward, and it's always looking for that bigger and bigger jackpot, the bigger win, right? And the sad reality is, you might get one little win, you might get a dog to sit, and that makes you a bigger gambler, because all of a sudden now you're seeing successes. You're getting those little variable schedules as a reward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what Skinner was doing to pigeons in a friggin' Skinner box. He was turning them into gamblers to understand the mechanism that makes us want to gamble.
Wow. Yeah.
Because see, once you understand the reality of it, it'll blow your
No,
mind.
that's absolutely true. We are completely addicted
Hmm.
to that, and it's the same way too.
And
It's
again, it's not your fault. Dog owners are victims. It breaks my heart. I mean, I've talked to dog owners privately that were locked away. I mean, they actually literally work from home. They can't leave the house. They're
yeah.
so isolated because of the dog. Because they love their
Yeah.
dog. They see something in the dog nobody else does, but the whole world is telling them to put the dog down.
Yeah.
So
That's
they've
well.
isolated themselves. They got no friends left. Nobody wants to come over because of the dog.
Yep.
And trainers are doing this. Trainers are destroying people's lives, and nobody's taking accountability for it.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
sad
that's
reality.
awesome.
And it's all based on they don't understand what a behavior is in the first place. Once you understand what a behavior is, behavioral euthanasia is off the table.
Yeah. Okay.
It shouldn't be happening in the first place, but yet millions of dogs are getting killed every year because of behaviors.
I know. And it's once they told us that essentially the only option that we have left. I haven't broke down like that, and I can't tell you how long.
And let me tell
Um,
you something. The sad reality is euthanasia is the highest value jackpot.
wow. Yeah.
When you think about it, because all of a sudden, it's a relief in the end. Because all of a sudden,
Yeah.
all that stress in your life is gone. That trauma bond is now finished. And that's the reality of it. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It's just,
No. No.
you got people that
No.
are encouraging you to put your dog down. And I say no. If you're willing to put the time and effort into it, I will do whatever I can on my end to help you.
Of of
You
course.
know,
Yeah,
I will give you
definitely.
all the resources that you have that I
Anything.
can.
Yeah, as much as we can. Like I said, we
Now we focused on dog. Now we gotta address breed because
okay.
your little Shiba is a hunting dog,
Yeah.
and those genes are
Yes.
still there. They aren't gonna disappear. So we got to find a way. And it's not. I don't know where you are, but what I used to do with my ex's Mimpian, and my dog never learned to hunt. I mean, he loves to chase, but he kind of gives up. He's never like the first 5 years of his life he was locked up in the house.
Okay.
But now he's out in dog parks. Now he chases squirrels and mice and whatever have you. My
Yep.
ex's Minpin, he was a well-bred dog, and I used to take him out at least once a week to a gopher patch. We have huge gopher fields here, or groundhogs,
Okay.
and I'd let him go. You know what? You're a hunter. Get out and hunt. And he would run. He would chase. He would dig. He would shred for an hour, hour and a half. I had to carry him back to the car. He was done. But that's what they're bred to do. That's the mental release that dogs
Right.
need.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can do it in artificial ways as well. Because
Okay.
again, the Shibas are bred to chase. So let's give them
Yep.
something to chase. Flirt poles are wonderful. Number one
Okay.
tool that can save a pit bull's life is a flirt pole. And it's
Okay.
just, if you ever played with the cats with the sticking the toy in the rope, that's all
Yeah.
it
Of
is a
course.
large version of it. And you can build one yourself, 6 feet of pipe and a paracord and try to get a blue or a yellow lure because that's all the colors that dogs see. They're very
Okay.
colorblind, okay? Remote control cars. They can be used for so many different breeds. I mean, I've seen dogs do a flat out chase to the point where there's nothing left, and that's getting everything out of their system. Uh, if you got a greyhound, I mean those dogs can run 40 miles an hour. So you need
Oh
something that
yeah.
hauls ass so they can't catch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had other owners turn around to have greyhounds and running dogs. Dress up your freaking RC car like a rabbit, and let them go.
Yeah.
It can also be taught for. You can actually teach a dog to herd RC car as well. So if
Oh,
you got
okay.
Aussie Shepherds and whatever have you, then you got tracking dogs. I always tell people, if you got a bloodhound or whatever have you, they need to work too. Put a couple of drops
Yeah.
of raccoon urine on the car, keep it ahead of the dog, and
Yeah.
a pelt or something up in the tree, so that you're completing the cycle. So they're
Okay.
going to be going on the track. They're actually tracking this squirrel or raccoon. It's artificial, but
Yep.
then they
Yep.
find the thing in the tree, and that's the end goal. That's the positive consequence.
Yep. Yep.
So it's artificial, but still in all the dog is getting to do what it's bred to do. So you're
Yes.
giving the dog a time and a place to do things.
Yep.
So when you got an Aussie Shepherd on a leash and it's angry at the world, or it appears angry at the world, what it is pure frustration, because all these moving things and the Aussie wants to herd them. But a lot of times that frustration can come out as a bite because they can't think properly.
Okay.
I watch border collies. I mean, border collies are amazing dogs when you get them on sheep.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same thing. You get border collies that are reactive. They're growling and barking at everything on leash, but they just want to. It's moving targets. It's sheep,
Yeah.
and they never
Yep.
get to chase anything, right? So if you can get them on a flirt pole or get them something artificial, or put
Yep.
them on a real flock of sheep. I mean, if you can get out in the farm, but
Yeah.
you'll see a different dog. It has to be because that's the
Okay.
relationship that's missing. If you listen to Terry Parrish, I'll actually send you an email. She did a show with Mike Rowe. That was
Okay.
hilarious, and she nailed so many things in that video. Because it's the working relationship that's missing with dogs. So what she does, she has like sheep and goats and whatever have you on a farm, and people
Mhm.
pay her to bring their dogs out to learn to herd.
Oh,
So
okay.
all of
That's
these
great.
herding dogs, she brings them in and she just lets them go and they learn to herd. And man, I tell you, the one owner, she had a corgi, which is another herding dog,
Yep.
and she said point blank, if he doesn't get out here once a week, he gets snippy because he wants to
Okay.
work. Okay,
Right. Right.
so give the dog a purpose, and that's the big
Okay.
thing that's missing with dogs today is purpose.
Yep.
Shibas are hunting dogs. Let them hunt something. Real or
Okay.
fake. Like I say, if you can get them on a gopher patch, gophers are really hard to catch. As good as Jagger was, he never caught one because there's way too many
Okay.
sentries. There's always gophers watching and like chirping and whatever have you. So they're always warning, you know what, predator here. But he had a blast. It was like we call it hunting and not killing. We call it fishing and not catching because the
Yeah.
thrill of the hunt, right?
Yep. Yep.
But as long as they get that hunt, man, I tell you, you'll see a different dog.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely pick up an MC car, and I do know a couple places. The only thing that I would be worried about is taking them off leash if they'd ever come back or not. Um.
Don't focus on that right now.
Okay.
That's 4 or 5 steps down the road. What you got to do is
Oh,
build up a relationship first,
of
because
course. Of course.
recall is something you shouldn't be training. I never ever taught
Okay.
recall in my life.
Well, we haven't taught
My
it.
basis is when I take Montage to a dog park or wilderness area, I'm the only
Yep.
thing that he trusts and respects. He's not going to
So he
lose sight
needs.
of me. The onus is on him to know where I am. If he loses sight of me, he
Yeah,
freaks out.
yeah, that makes complete sense too.
You know, it's
So
all relationship based, right? So focus on relationship and don't focus on behavior. Try to understand the cause. Ask why, with everything that's
I
going on.
I want him to want to come back to
Yep,
me. Is what you're
exactly.
saying.
And that takes
Okay.
time. Okay.
Yep.
And that takes patience. And the thing of it is, like with Monty, he was locked up in the house all the time. I recognized what he didn't have, and I gave it to him. So
Yep.
he came around pretty quickly. On day 3, he was off leash in dog parks. Most people that have been through the training gamut, whatever have you, because he didn't go through the training gamut. That's one
Yep.
benefit. So when you are gone through the training gamut, you're all control and management. There's a lot of things that have to get reversed. They need to get undone. So before you can, what you're looking to do is reset the relationship. But before you can get there, you got to start showing him respect and show him, you know what, we're not going to disrespect you anymore.
Okay.
It could take a week, it could take 2 weeks, it could take 2 or 3 months. But with patience and calm and giving them purpose, you're going to see a different dog.
Okay.
Giving them outlets for what they need. Okay?
Yeah.
And like I say, treat your dog more like a human child, like you were raising a human child, because that's what I do. And I've never
Of
had a
course.
problem dog, right? They have the
Okay.
same needs. They need education. They need boundaries. They need rules. They need other dogs. They need to get out and get fresh air. They need to be, socialized. They need to be social skills, the whole 9 yards. It's the same thing as raising children. Apply the same
Yep.
things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Completely. Then you can definitely tell that there's for an example, or an example that I related to that is that you can definitely most of the time tell the difference between the child who went to a public school and the child who was homeschooled, because the child who went to public school generally seems to have better social skills than the one who wasn't,
Yep.
because we're at home all day,
Yep.
and that absolutely makes sense. That's what we're doing with him right now. Is he is a homeschool child,
Yep.
as opposed to
And
socializing him.
animals don't do well in isolation. That's human and dog. And
No.
your world right now is getting smaller.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
gotta get it back open again. You know?
It's yeah. All three of us are in a bubble
Yep.
right now.
Exactly. And that's the hard thing to accept. I mean, you're gonna have to. There's a lot of things after this conversation. You're gonna have to sit down and think about it and talk about it and learn to accept certain things.
Yeah, yeah,
You gotta admit you got a problem before you can actually focus on the problem, right?
right.
It's like being an addict, man. It's recovering,
Yeah, yeah.
and the dog has to recover from it as well.
Yep.
You know.
We'll get there.
But I mean,
We'll get there.
this is completely what I'm talking about right now. Like people say, this is such a great new idea. No, I'm trying to rewind 40 years before all this dog training shit took over.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
back to
This
the way
is
it used to be, right?
yeah, yeah. That's I was completely unaware that this all came down to one person too. It
Yeah.
just blows
And
my mind that
I can send you a couple books if you want to read them.
please,
Okay,
please.
Conrad. I'll send you Conrad Most, and I'll send you B.F. Skinner about behaviorism. About behaviorism will smoke your noodle because
Okay.
it's a it's an overall philosophy of his whole career,
Okay.
and it gets pretty dark. Like I say, there's positive reinforcement has a real dark side, whereas trainers are going, it's all positive. No, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. That's yeah, it's just incredibly insightful, man. I just
It's a lot to
it,
absorb.
yeah, yeah. But the way that you're addressing this is just it makes so much sense,
Yeah.
and it just it's something that I don't think we would have put two and two together just ourselves or with any other trainer or anybody else.
And that's the
Um,
whole thing with Skinner. I mean, he wanted society based on positive reinforcement. Right now, we live in a punitive society, and it's all reward and punishment is all manipulation. If you listen to a fellow by the name of Alfie Kohn, he explains it beautifully, and he says point blank that you know what reward and punishment doesn't work. It's all manipulation. So when you at some point in your life you got a job, and then you start getting paid. That's a manipulation tactic. That's a reward. Then you get bonuses. You get promotions. Whatever. This is all manipulation. What Skinner wanted instead was to base society on people. What drives people? Positive reinforcement is what motivates you. What is your desire?
yeah,
And he tried to wake
yeah,
the world up to the actual fact that they're using the quadrants on society. That's how children are being raised right now, using the quadrants of dog training, punishment and reward.
yeah. That's absolutely
That's
it.
all it is, and it doesn't work. It works, but it shouldn't be happening. It's not necessary.
Because what I do for a living is not what I enjoy.
Yep.
Um, in a nutshell, that's it. That's you're right. You know,
Like,
that's
I love psychology. Like, I'm Asperger's, which changes the game because I researched the hell out of everything. But for me, I believe that every brain was geared to be good at something, but not every brain finds that something, and that's the problem with society today. We don't push children to explore what's out there anymore. You know,
yeah,
I watched a 10-year-old girl one night on YouTube do this brain dump of with a charcoal pencil and paper, and she put this custom image on paper. It was hyper realistic at 10 years old,
yeah,
and I can't understand how it works. I don't understand how the brain works in that sense. Like, how is your brain wired to your fingers? Because I can't even say my own name anymore.
sure,
You know?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but for anybody watching, psychology itself, and Skinner said the same thing. We're not focused on behavior anymore. We're focused on the mind, and that's the wrong thing. It's supposed to be the mind and behavior, but Skinner did not need the mind to shape behavior. It's the environment that makes you who you are. When it comes to behaviors, you don't have free will. It's not your choice how you act. And once people understand that, in order to understand that, you need to accept the fact that we are animals. And we don't think we're animals anymore. And we've taken the dog out of the animal kingdom as well. And we don't treat them like animals anymore. I treat my dog like a dog. He's not my baby. He's not my child. He's not my kid. He's my dog. And I expect him to live life as a dog. Get out and be a dog. You know? And I mean, he's met thousands of dogs in the last 7 years as I've had him. He comes to work with me on some serious cases. There's times where the case is his and his alone. I stand in the corner. You know what? Let him do his job. You know, it's amazing. Dogs are amazing. They really are. And they're so bloody capable. But we don't let them show their capabilities a lot of times. We don't let them explore the brain. We don't let them make choices. So we don't know exactly how intelligent and how smart they are.
Right.
You know? But once you start looking at the dog differently and once you start showing the dog respect and whatnot, that's when the communication is going to come in. And part of trust technique is just be calm and be quiet. So, I mean, we've got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. We should be doing twice as much talk or watching and listening as we do talking. But a lot of people just don't understand that. Okay? But the less you talk, the more you're going to see and listen, the more you're going to hear. So try to focus on the dog, not the environment.
Okay.
You need to get to know your dog, and your dog needs to get to know the real you. And that was another video that Mark did. It was, does the dog know the real you or the fake you? And when you watch that video and you chew on that one for a while, a lot of people are producing this fake them in front of their dog. They're trying to be something that they're not.
Yeah, that's absolutely
And the
it.
dog is going, you know what? I'm seeing through you. I'm seeing through all this. And the human doesn't get it. And it's confusing to the dog, right?
We don't talk to him as if he's a friend. Yeah, we baby talk him. I guess that's got to be kind of patronizing. I would assume that
It's
instead of
confusing.
yeah, I'm sure. We can just start treating him as if we treat each other as opposed to
As a sentient being.
yeah, instead of putting him on a pedestal as if he's some special baby or something like that. You know?
Yeah. To treat a dog as anything other than a dog is disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at things.
Yeah.
And that's all dogs most dogs learn today is just disrespect. They never know what respect is.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all they can give back is disrespect. Where trust and respect is earned, and so too is mistrust and disrespect. They're both earned. And that's just sad reality that we got to learn.
Yeah. We've been doing them dirty for a while.
Well, you know what? It's never too late. That's the one thing about the dog. The beautiful thing about the dog, they never forget, but they always forgive. It might take them time.
Yeah.
But they always forgive. They always come back.
Okay.
But like I say, start as soon as you can, getting them the proper exercise. Find and positive reinforcement again is about your desires. What does the dog like? He may not like a flirt ball, but he might love a chasing an RC car around.
Sure,
so if you can find somebody you can borrow one or even a drone, you'd be surprised at how many dogs can chase a drone.
Yeah, I bet he'd love that.
Yeah. And if you want to encourage them to chase something, you can put a bit of you can go to Cabela's and buy a bit of animal urine, like a squirrel or a raccoon or whatever have you, or even like a stick of rabbit scent.
Yeah.
Because that'll bring out the hunting dog in him, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's
you know. But if you can start right away, because the two things that are going to lower cortisol is
Yep.
CBD. The other one is hard exercise. It's going to be mentally draining. Because hard
Yep. Okay.
exercise, when you're having a bad day, like a lot of people, when they're having a really stressful day, they go to the gym and they work it out, they beat it out in the bag, whatever have you. It's
Yep.
that hard exercise that's getting rid of that mental. It's creating all the good chemicals in the brain, like serotonin, dopamine, and that's bringing the cortisol levels down. And just two of them
Yep.
combined is pretty potent.
That makes sense too. We've been he and I would go on almost daily 3-4 mile hikes. But the ticks up here have been so bad lately that we haven't been doing it as often, and that's kind of makes sense too because we were doing some pretty rigorous hiking up until I mean even through the winter when it was heavy snow. We'd be out in the fields and up in the hills and the dunes just doing this, and we haven't been lately. He's not getting that exercise in. He's getting walks, 2-3 mile walks, but nothing like climbing
Yep.
dunes.
Just and one big thing, don't beat yourself up. Guilt is a emotion that should not be put on a dog. Put away all your guilt. Guilt is like a bag of bricks hanging around your neck. All you do is put it down. What happened in the past is in the past. The past is written. The ink is dry. You can't change it. Learn from it. Put it down. Move forward.
Okay.
But you got to learn to start. You got to start learning to trust him. And in order to learn to trust him, he needs to be calm and he needs to show you that he's capable of you trusting him. He's capable of making the right choices. And a dog can't make the right choices unless they're in a calm state, just like people. You know.
Yeah. We can do that. We need to. We start tomorrow. Right off the bat, no tweets like that.
We got
Okay. Yeah, we can do.
We got 3 minutes left here. Do you want to start a new session or just you want to finish it up?
My phone is just about to die, so I think I've got about 8% left.
Okay.
That should, I think
you got plenty to chew on right
really
now.
Yeah, we've got a lot to work on, and I think we have a great place to start now. I feel like a weight is lifted, not yet, but I feel like it's that makes sense.
It's hope.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if we've felt that yet with him.
Yeah, just try ask, don't tell, and you'd be amazed at the difference. Yeah. But again, right now you're on a trust but verify thing. He's still got to prove himself, and you got to keep you're starting right now at the bottom, and you're going to be as your trust levels and confidence goes up, his is going to grow too.
Yep.
You're on a journey of 1,000 miles, and it begins with a single step, right?
Absolutely.
That sounds like a freaking cliche, but it's reality, right?
No. You know, sometimes you need to hear stuff like that because we've been beaten down for months and months.
Yeah, try to ignore what
everywhere
people say.
We've turned.
Try to ignore people. I mean, society right now has been so brutal to dog owners with reactive or dog showing aggression and whatnot.
Oh my gosh,
man! They beat you down.
Yeah, it's all kinds of things. I've been called every name in the book. Irresponsible, called a coward.
Yeah. Like I say, you got a lot to chew on. You can contact me anytime you want. Email. If you're on Facebook, you can find me on Facebook, whatever have you. But do keep me updated. And if you got questions and whatnot, let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking us on.
Hey, no worries. I'll do whatever I can. I'll do whatever I can to help you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. We'll keep in touch. I'll let you know how things are going shortly.
Yeah. But I'll cut the video and upload it, and at least then you can rewatch it. So.
That's.
Okay.
Yep. That's perfectly fine. If you'd like to make it public, that's fine too.
I appreciate
if
that.
Anybody else.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. You have a good night. Okay.
Goodbye.